In this video, we're going to go through eyewitness testimony and the factors that affect the accuracy. I'm not very accurate in saying accuracy. That's sad. There's two main factors that affect the accuracy of eyewitness testimony. The first one is misleading information. This can take the form of leading questions or post-event discussion, which can contaminate eyewitness testimony. Leading questions are questions that, due to their phrasing, suggest a certain answer. So, for example, was he holding the knife in his left hand? This suggests two things to whoever is being interviewed. Firstly, it suggests that the man had a knife in the first place. And secondly, it suggests that he was holding it in his left hand. So, in a way, the question is directed to get a certain answer, which obviously will affect the eyewitness testimony. A key study into leading questions is Loftus and Palmer. So they got participants to watch video clips of a collision between two vehicles, and they were put into groups of different verbs. For example, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? Hit is semi-aggressive, I suppose, but they wanted to change the words to prove that leading questions do in fact affect eyewitness testimony. To put this into context, the verb contacted, so how fast were the cars going when they contacted each other? This resulted in a mean estimate of 31.8 miles per hour, whereas the verb smashed, obviously more aggressive, resulted in a mean estimate of 40.5 miles per hour, showing that leading questions do in fact contaminate eyewitness testimony. This is why it's so important in cognitive interviews that interviewers don't ask leading questions and they just keep the questions open, so they allow the witnesses to just tell them everything instead of yes or no answers. The other main factor that affects accuracy of eyewitness testimony is anxiety. So, anxiety is physical or emotional arousal, not in that way. It consists of emotion such as worried thoughts and feeling of tension. So physical changes include an increased heart rate and sweatiness, and it's usually a reaction to a stressful situation, but it can also affect the accuracy of eyewitness testimony. So if you think about it, Jeremy Kyle, we all watch Jeremy Kyle. So the lie detector, it detects anxiety in a person, so it detects the physiological changes, for example, the heart rate increasing or sweatiness or hand shaking, etc. And if this happens, then the person is usually lying. But there are ways to get around the lie detector. But that is another story for another time. So there's conflicting research on whether anxiety makes recall better or worse. So we're going to go through research on both sides. First of all, we're going to go through the negative effect of anxiety on recall. The psychologists Johnson and Scott in 1976 did research on the negative effects of anxiety on eyewitness testimony. They led participants to believe that they were going to take part in a lab experiment, but while seated in the seating area, they overheard a fight in the next room. In the low anxiety condition, a man walked out with a pen in his hand and his hands covered in grease. Obviously, this was quite low anxiety because it's not really a big deal. In the high anxiety condition, participants heard an argument going on in the next room and a glass smashing, and then a man walked out with a paper knife in his hand covered in blood, which was obviously very high anxiety for the participants involved. This demonstrates the weapon focus, which is, for example, in a crime such as a shooting, if you're told to recall what the person with the gun looks like, you might have issues because you were focused on the weapon instead, because it caused anxiety within you because you wanted to keep your eyes on the weapon at all times instead of looking at anything else. This can affect the accuracy of your testimony. However, there are positive effects on recall, as research shows. So, anxiety can cause physiological effects in our body, as I said at the beginning of the video, such as the production of adrenaline, which makes us more alert and improves our memory for the event because we become more aware of cues in the situation. For example, we remember more what the person was wearing or what he looked like or the accent or anything like that. So the psychologists Yule and Cutshaw conducted a real-life shooting in a gun shop in Vancouver, which is in Canada. There were 21 witnesses, only 13 of which agreed to take part in the study. The interviews were held 4 to 5 months after the incident and compared with the interviews that were taken right after the shooting happened. The findings were that the witnesses were very accurate in their accounts and there were little changes in the amount of accuracy after 5 months. And people who reported the highest levels of stress were actually more accurate than those who showed less stress, about 88% compared to 75% for the less stressed group. So this in fact shows that stress and anxiety can actually increase the accuracy of eyewitness testimony. That is the end of this video, and if you have any more questions, just leave it in the comments, or again, email me at revisionbuddy101@gmail.com, and I will try to respond as soon as possible. Yay! Have a good day. Bye bye. Mwah.